Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the Boston Ujima Project annual Investee report out. We're super excited to have all of our virtual audience and our in-person audience um, for this annual event. For folks who don't know, this event is really to highlight our portfolio businesses in our Ujima Good Business Alliance. We really want to learn about their successes over the year, their challenges, and their learnings. Really, that's really what this is all about. So we can present it in front of our members, and really be able to like build some type of deepen our relationship as we don't always get to see each other and learn about each other. Um, the businesses that we will be highlighting today is Jazzer Band Cafe, Hush Groove LLC, Kush Groove Clothing LLC, Comfort Kitchen, Cupcake Therapy, Bay State Banner, and Kadogo Productions. And there's a few other businesses that are in our portfolio that could not make it. We have Cero. We also have The Pearl, which is a restaurant. And then lastly, we have one more business. And Dorchester Food Co-op. Thank you, yeah. So I don't want to talk too much. We want to get right into this conversation. I'm going to pass it over to our first business, Kush Group Clothing LLC. Please welcome Marcus Johnson Smith. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, Genoa, and thank you to the Ujima team. Uh, for those who are familiar with Kush Groove, it's typically myself and my partner Mike, who's on the picture here. Mike's the CEO, and I'm pretty much the number two. But Mike unfortunately can't be here because he's having his second child, I think tonight. So I believe he's at the hospital. He's had the phone on do not disturb all day. But he told me a day or so ago that he was checking into the hospital. So blessings to him in his second born. But that's why he's not here. For those who aren't familiar with Kush Groove, I want to kind of paint a little bit of picture of the business and our story and our history and kind of where we're at today. So Kush Groove Clothing started as a clothing business in 2011. So we're essentially 13 years old, I believe, if the math adds up. And myself and my partner, we have a teenage business now. And that business has pivoted over the years to business models that had to work for us. It started as a lifestyle apparel company, accessories company with a focus on a cannabis consumer and a cannabis aesthetic. And we've pivoted over the years to retail stores selling cannabis accessories and ultimately becoming licensed cannabis operators, where today we have two retail operations and an employee base of around 30 plus people, give or take. So the business has pivoted and grown. That's kind of the context setting I wanted to provide. And so, as recipients of capital for the Kush Group Clothing business, I think it was important for me to kind of share the story of where the business has grown and where it's matured. The retail cannabis businesses are under different entities, so there is some, kind of legal separations to the businesses and the operations, but nonetheless, that's kind of where we're at today with the businesses. And so as I tell the story of the brand and the business, I want to highlight a couple things that I think are important to the Ujima values and our values and why we're members of Ujima. So as I mentioned before, we currently have a staff of about 30 people across two locations in Cambridge and Brockton. We've been open in the Cambridge location for about a little under 2 years now. I think we've hired probably somewhere around 60 to 70 people. I know we did a survey for the CCC, the Control Commission, to kind of record our diversity. I know we were at somewhere around 85%, 90% Black and brown. Similarly, in our Brockton location, that's been open for about 8 months now, give or take. And that location has kind of the same diversity spread over there. So I think, we're hitting our targets as far as diversity, women in the business, which I'm really happy about. We're happy about. Some proud moments for me. I had hired my mom. My mom worked at the Cambridge location for the first year after her retirement from Northeastern. So that was nice to see her at the front. She had double retired now from Northeastern and Cush Grove. But nonetheless, I had my 70-year-old mother working at the store for a couple months, which was a treat. So I think we've had a great milestone in our diversity that we've reached, um, which I'm happy about. It's the second milestone I'd like to highlight in, again, telling the story of the collective business. Again, we have 2 locations open. We're opening a third location, 1589 Columbus Ave. If y'all see the construction going on down the street, holla at us. But collectively, we're doing about 500K a month between both locations. So we're really happy about that, and we're growing. So I think just those 2 highlights for us as far as diversity, how many people we're hiring, who we're hiring, and the sales of the businesses at this stage, we're really excited about that. As far as the story of how the clothing business is aligned with the operations of where the retail businesses are today, we've utilized capital from the Ujima on the Kutru Clothing LLC side to reprint certain products that we then, wholesale back to ourselves in our retail store, kind of like your traditional franchise model, where the franchisee kind of supplies their stores with their products. So that's how we've utilized capital. We've utilized capital this year to hire some brand strategists and social media marketing creators, and they were from the Diaspora Mass team, which I believe is affiliated and or a member of the Ujima Alliance. So we're able to kind of keep the pool of capital within the community. And then, we, for the most part, have kept the capital in reserves because we haven't really had too much of a need to utilize the capital. On the clothing business side, we've really been hyper focused on the cannabis business and sustaining that operation. And so I think strategically where we're focused now is, we have 2 operations that are moderately successful. We know what we're doing on the retail side of that business in this industry. We got a third business opening as well in the next couple of months. So, we're hyper focused on making sure the retail businesses are running with our teams there, operational, so that we can get out of being in the business so we can work on the business. And with that focus, we want to pivot back to the clothing side of the business, the brand, the community building, the events, the product development, that really got us to where we're at today. So that's just a snapshot of where we're at today, currently, and I'm happy to answer any questions if folks have some questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. Thank you. So I do want to read a few comments in the chat, and then I'm going to pass it around the room, first in person for some questions, and then see if we have any virtually. Um, Gio said they got to see the Brockton location, so they're excited to see that. Nia said, congrats on making progress on the good local job standard, which is one of our 36 good business standards. And we appreciate that you're highlighting the good business standards, so thank you. Mary said, yes, back in Boston, and I love that beautiful Cambridge representation. as someone who grew up in Cambridge. So definitely shout out Cambridge. Do we have any questions in person?
I see a question about any event space for the Boston spot. Excuse me. I'll have a better answer for that once we're that much closer through construction. To be transparent, and I think this is a lesson in business as well, just to share our Boston location, excuse me, we had to bring on a partner, a 50-50 partner, a capital partner, because it was an expensive undertaking to maintain that business while we were still trying to get the other businesses going. But nonetheless, we've kind of deferred some of the vision of that business to this partner. So we don't have, the full vision that we started with. So I say that all to say I'll have a better sense of how we can integrate the space within the community a little bit more down the line once we're closer to opening.
Thank you. Let me give it 5 more seconds. Does anybody else have a question for Marcus from Kush Groove?
I have a question about what
1 second.
there's a
Yep, this is, I'll hear you.
so what were the requirements that Ujima project asked you for or fund your business?
Yeah, so the requirements were essentially around just not using the capital for the other entities, which we haven't. Um, that's pretty much from what I recall.
Okay, perfect. I think that's all the questions we have right now. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you coming and giving an update to our alliance. I mean, to our members, our community and everything. So love seeing that you guys are growing. Love seeing you in Brockton and that you have another location coming. So appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And I invite everybody to come to any of our locations, Cambridge and Boston, Cambridge and Brockton, excuse me, that are currently open. And our Boston location should be open, I'd say sometime around February, March.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Marcus. Can we give it a round of applause for Marcus? Cool. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're gonna jump over to our next business. We're gonna pass it over to Kadogo Productions and the owner is Kiana. How you doing, Kiana?
Hello, hello. How are you? I am here in Africa. I'm in Togo. So thank you for allowing me to be here online. This is just an overview of what we've done over the last year. I'll try to be as brief as possible. The wins and challenges that I'll discuss are they basically will align with the 5 categories of my company or divisions: capital, growth, content, technology, and operations. In January, we had a tech win. I was accepted into the Joan Gans Cooney Wellbeing by Design workshop, and that center was online, but we had a culmination event in New York where we were presented, where we had to give presentations about how the fellowship influenced our design. And since we are children focused, since we are, really focused on the well-being of children, and again, the purpose of Kadogo Productions is to help children learn while they celebrate the African diaspora. It was really interesting to be able to get such hands-on feedback about our technology. And so you can see the case study that we produced as we were going through the fellowship. In February, we were definitely heavily involved in events that celebrated Black History Month. We were at the Museum of Science 3 times. We did a learn and play on their science live stage, where we were able to highlight our Kidogo kids who gave presentations about Black history, specifically Black people who are involved in the climate advocate, policy making, and science space. And then we had Black Children's Book Week, where we did 2 live story times in the Museum of Science. And one of those events where we partnered with the Sigma Alpha, or the Q Dogs, I can't remember what the Greek letters are. We also had a focus group where we asked our Kidogo kids to help build Kidogoville. And this is the EdTech app that we're working on, where we are literally building a navigable digital city that will house our learning content. And those kids did a fabulous job. In March, it was the beginning of the Ujima vote. So that was the only thing that I was focused on at that particular time. In April, we began to really focus in on our app simply by asking the adults now, what do they think they need in the app? What kind of content do they want to see? What kind of features would they want to have? And in May, we started putting out little crumbs of content. We put them on YouTube. There's not a whole lot there because we want to save it for the app, but you can certainly look at some of the content that we put. This content, you will find it in our Movin' and Groovin' Wellness Center, because it centers around physical and mental well-being. June was packed. We celebrated Juneteenth. We did a fashion show, which was a read and do event where we had a Black author out of New York. We read her book. We then acted it out. And so this was a book about children putting on a fashion show as an entrepreneur, a way of learning about entrepreneurship. And that's exactly what they did. They made their own fashion and then they modeled it down the runway. We also had a Juneteenth event at, and that was held at the Black Market Union. Thank you so much to the Grants for helping us host that event. Then we were at the Boston Children's Museum for a Juneteenth event where kids just came left and right and center, drawing and putting together Juneteenth flags. And I was also interviewed by the LA Tribune as a way of celebrating Juneteenth. And finally, I was invited to be a part of a photo shoot that really highlighted women who are entrepreneurs, who are founders, and 2% refers to the very dismal percentage of women who actually received VC investment. In July, Black Ambition semifinalist, I was announced in July. And then Kidogo also did a read and craft. And so that event where we read a book and then we made a craft that was related to the book. That was at Frugal Bookstore. Then in Boston, just a really great networking event at hosted by JP Morgan Chase. And then finally, I was part of a panel discussion out in Minnesota, which was a culmination or like a natural extension of the Joan Gans Cooney Center, because these were all participants in that program. August was when we actually got the deposit from Ujima. Thank you, Lord. We were running on gas and fumes up until then, but we did also have 2 summer interns. One helped us put together the story of Kidogoville, and another, a 14-year-old coding phenom who is just amazing. In September, we really started to put a little bit more flesh to the bones of our app. And you know, here we have just a colored rendering of what the navigable city will look like. And then we also have a few shots of what internally, what those navigation screens will look like. Our home base is here, you know, where the users can choose their avatar and they can find their dashboard and be able to go to the parent center or to Cadogaville itself. And there's surprise elements throughout every space, including this home page here. Guided quests are something that we would like to be able to help the child go throughout their learning. So it doesn't have to be, you know, just all free for all, but we do have some ways for the child to learn in an empirical way. In October, I attended the EdTech Week, and that was actually the first time that I attended a conference that was really dedicated and honed and centered on EdTech. So it was a great opportunity to be able to hear some of the nuts and bolts, get a few, to be able to fine tune some of the things that we're trying to include in the app. And also we heard about some funding opportunities as well. In November, I attended the Afrotech conference in Houston, and my goal there was to find a game developer and game designer. And out of 36,000 people, I found them. I was amazed that I was able to do it. But this person here, Leonard Tatum, works as a game designer. He worked for ABC Mouse. He took couple of minutes to look at what we have with the app, and he was just like, you can surpass ABC Mouse, just let me help you. So really happy about that. And Morgan is the founder of Afrotech. So this month, what we are continue to do is to code. We have a clickable prototype that people gave feedback. December 1st was their last day to give feedback. We got some really great and useful feedback from educators and parents. And so now it is just about coding. And we hope to be able to get that coded MVP out by January 15th. So really a sprint towards this next little milestone. Please wish us the best of luck on that. But we also have just meetings upcoming, meetings with educators, like the one from the Teachers Lounge, submitting more applications for funding. And we really want to start looking at a equity crowdfunding campaign. And certainly we're looking for additional investors to help close out our round. Just some challenges is to kind of bring it home is like, you know, we still haven't closed the round. We would love to be able to do that. We're about 175 short of the 325 we've raised so far. We're looking for a lot more creators to help fill out our content pipeline. We're making some progress, but we want to be able to accelerate the process. And we're still looking for people to help us with social media and marketing, because that happens not to be my talent. But if you have any other questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, you can cut that up. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna do some questions. Anyone in the chat can put it in. Anyone on Zoom can put in the chat, and if anybody in person wants to ask a question, just let me know. I see Nia put a question in the chat. Do you have a creator call that we can circulate?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can put one together. I've been just reaching out to people via email. And so, yes, I can put something together. I do have a creator invitation that is very detailed, that gives like a kind of look-see into how I would like the creators to be able to earn money on our platform. But I think something more generalized would be great. So I'll send that to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Any questions from people in the room? Sounds good. Oh,
Tell Kiana, check her DMs.
oh, Kiana, can you check your DMs?
I am writing back to
Yeah.
you, Nia, thank you.
Joyce has a question in the chat. How can we support the January 15th launch?
I think, you know, the coding that we're doing is like deep in the foxhole, but as far as marketing and social media is concerned, like we need to be able to kind of we want to be able to gen up, you know, interest about it. So, you know, and this is not a launch. This is why I called it a mini launch. It's not the launch where, you know, I want to start charging right away. We are still looking for feedback. I mean, I'm greedy about feedback. So I want, this will be the first time where we're sending something out that has actually been coded by the developer, not in, you know, images that have been generated by Figma or anything. So yeah, I think interest so that we can get as many people to give feedback as possible. So if you are on social media, or if anyone else is on social media, then, you know, I can give you kind of the images and the reels and all that kind of stuff to push out.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Any last call for questions before we move forward?
Just there are a couple of questions in the chat that you might.
Okay. Okay, I see a comment from Mary. Absolutely love the blog Kadogo Productions happens. Strongly recommend folks check it out to stay up to date with Kadogo Productions. Mary put a link for the blog, so definitely check that out, everyone in the chat. And then Natasha said, Kadogo has done such an amazing job with things this year. So congrats to you, Kiana.
Thank you so much.
Let's give a round of applause for Kiana. Thank you. Thank you, Kiana. Give me one moment.
Sure.
You need some more time? Or you good? You good? You can go. Okay, welcome. Next we have Sharonda White from Cupcake Therapy. I'm gonna pass the floor over to you. You might want to come around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Okay,
You
okay,
can talk to this one.
this one, okay,
And the mic is right here
okay, and how,
on this side.
okay. Okay, I think I see what I'm doing. Yeah, okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So my name is Sharonda White. I'm co-founder of Cupcake Therapy. My mom in the back, Shirley White, is the other co-founder of Cupcake Therapy. Brian spoke earlier, but what he said resonated about him, you know, hiring his mom, and she was a double retiree. My mom is waiting to retire, so we are working on that for 2025. Sorry. But with that being said, this one, there we go. No, it's not moving.
Yeah.
Somebody's virtually controlling it on the left laptop.
Somebody is virtually controlling the laptop.
Yep. So
Okay,
whenever you need to switch.
just let them know that
Yeah,
it's
just let
switched.
them know.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, great, okay. So, for those of you who don't know, Cupcake Therapy is a premium nut-free, allergy-friendly cupcake company. We have approximately 100 variations, regular, vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, soy-free, halal cupcakes. And so we have been in operation since February of 21. This started as a hobby, but somehow turned into a full-fledged business. So, and as you see here, we have regular cupcakes, we have cupcake minis, we have cupcakes in a jar which ship nationwide. We do cupcake toppers that are edible, edible chocolate birthday candles. We have a lot of different options for our customers. So on the next slide, you'll see our accomplishments for 2024 so far. The first is moving to Brookline. So initially we had a ghost kitchen in Westwood. Ghost kitchens are great in theory. in theory. There were some challenges with the ghost kitchen that we were in. You know, we have 14, 15 kitchens, some are clean, some are not. There can be some issues, so we needed to move. So we moved to Brookline. We are in a much bigger facility. We have a 1,500 square foot kitchen. We don't need that much space, but it's nice to have. It's actually less expensive than the ghost kitchen that we were in that was 310 square feet. So we are very happy. Our landlords are amazing. We have an annual lease, just like we have with the ghost kitchen. Because we're closer in, it's just so much better for us, for our customers. We had lost pretty much all of our pickups when we moved to Westwood. They all came back and then some when we moved to Brookline, to the point where it's just kind of, we got flooded, which was a good problem to have. And so it's been really a great move, even though that we knew that it would be temporary when we moved there. So on the next slide, you'll see our second accomplishment, which is that we expand our B2B clients. And on the next slide, you'll see we have a lot of different types of clients, you know, from kids with allergies to foodies to corporate clients. This is just a list of some of our corporate clients. On the next slide, you will see our B2B clients. Oops, sorry, before that one. These are our B2B clients. So we don't have a lot, but they are very important to us. The Compass Group is one of the largest food service companies in the country. Yes. Oh, geez. You should be. Yes. Yes. We had to keep like moving people around, but yeah, so the Compass Group is one of the largest food service companies in the country, and they are one of our two largest clients. Actually, the other is Dexter Southfield. They're a school, but they order a lot of cupcakes, like 100 plus dozen at a time. But the Compass Group, Leash Bakery, we do all of their gluten-free and vegan cupcakes, actually. So they do all the regular desserts, and we do vegan and gluten-free for them. TD Garden, Fresh City Kitchen, Max's Deli. So we're really trying to expand our corporate client base. We have two potentially big corporate clients that are that we are meeting with. One actually this Wednesday. It's a major hotel, and then there's another that is it's an athletic facility that will be coming up in the next week or so. And so if we can get those, it would be huge. So we're really excited about that. On the next slide, you will see our third accomplishment. We found a space. We have been trying since February of 2022. It has been a process. Boston is an interesting place. You know, we had the funding, we had the contractor, the architect, you know, we were ready to go. But if they don't want you, they don't want you. That's just the reality of it. And so we had a lot of challenges. You know, we hear about all the vacant spaces in Boston. The reality is when these landlords have these major corporations with guarantees and they've shut down, but they're still paying rent, they're not going to take a chance with us when Starbucks is paying them and they're not even there, right? So, you know, yes, there are vacant spaces, but the reality is they're going to stay vacant until the guarantees run out and the landlords have to find tenants. Right now, that's not what's happening. And so we had a lot of false starts, even spaces that we tried to get in Roxbury, spaces that we tried to get, you know, in places where they were saying, well, the community won't support it, so we're not going to, you know, they wouldn't lease to us, which we don't believe is true. The community's been supporting us, but it is what it is. And so we did find a space. On the next slide, you will see we will be at 117 Atlantic Avenue, so the North End waterfront area. This landlord has been great to work with so far. And it's funny because we have a great landlord now. We wanted to have another great landlord. We don't want to go from good to bad. But this landlord has been really great to work with. The current tenant is actually moving into a bigger space in the same building. They've been there over a decade. They have another tenant that moved to a bigger space that has been there over a decade. And so they have a good track record with their tenants. And so we're really excited. On the next slide, you will see that we're not just doing cupcakes. We will be doing cupcake therapy with cupcakes and muffins from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. And from 5 to 11 p.m., we will be opening a dessert cafe. So for those of you who remember Finale when it was here, how it was just like a spread of desserts, that's what we're going to do. One thing that we found is that cupcake shops by themselves, if you're just doing cupcakes, probably not going to last. Georgetown lasted a while because they were doing so many corporate orders. They shut down when their lease expired. They actually shut down their 3 highest rent locations. So Boston, LA, and New York, they kept the 3 lower rent locations. or the 2 lower rent in their flagship location. But the other cupcake shops have all closed down. We've been doing great. We opened during the pandemic. We've only just increased in sales. We are constantly having to turn away business, which is fine. That's great. That's wonderful. But in terms of sustainability, we want to make sure that we have additional revenue streams. And so we will have a dessert cafe from 5 to 11 by reservation. Space rentals are available. We've talked to BU, to Mass Challenge, to others who would love to rent space from us. So on the next slide, you will see, our menu. Okay. So for the bakery, cupcakes and muffins, coffees and lattes, loose leaf teas, hot chocolates, cold drinks. For the dessert cafe, that's the part that excites me. Premium desserts, charcuterie and cheese boards, mocktails, coffee and latte, loose leaf teas, hot chocolate, and cold drinks. So just a big spread. If you want to come in after dinner somewhere and just have dessert, you're overlooking the park. That's the other thing too about this location. It's on the corner where Columbus Park and the Rose Kennedy Greenway meet. And so it's a view of the park, and you're looking at that while you're drinking your tea and eating your desserts. It's going to be a really great experience. And so the next slide, we will see, oh, that's just pictures. Oh, we also, so, oh geez, Creme de la Cour is a woman-owned company. They are, one owner is in Boston and the other is in Wisconsin. They have the best ice cream ever. It's alcohol-infused ice cream. We will be selling them. It's amazing. And so we're at least going to have the vanilla bean horchata, the chocolate brownie bourbon, and the espresso martini. They're amazing. And so we'll be selling that as well as other desserts. And the next slide, you'll see, that's it. So that is it for our presentation. Thank you.
We can take some questions in person or on the chat. Thank you, Sharonda. We have 2 questions.
Yes.
We'll start with me and then we'll pass it over.
We can go to the other questions first.
Okay, we can start with you.
So, hi, first,
Hi.
love your cookies. I'm so biased, I'm so biased. Because this is the only place where I can go that will allow for everyone to have a cupcake.
Yeah.
And that, and I mean, that, or now I'm so excited that you're gonna do other desserts too. That's, oh my God, you just made my day. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. But I'm curious. I love the fact that you're doing a second location. Have you ever thought of they're doing the thing now where you can get the wine and beer license, or have you thought about doing that?
That's a great question. 2 things. It'll just be this location. We're actually, the timing is actually perfect. So, so currently it's September. They're actually moving out the end of January. So our lease starts February 1st, and we will be in, the goal is by April when our current lease ends. And so we'll be transitioning from Brookline here. So just be one location. Our goal was to apply for a liquor license. That was initially the goal. The deadline is this Friday. We got the final lease today. So it's a very short turnaround. We will try. Is a short answer. We have a plan B is the longer answer.
Okay.
So you will next hear about either that or the plan B.
Okay.
The plan B is a promise.
Okay. If you need some help, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
So my question is, to what do you attribute the success of you growing your B2B business?
So I think I'm sorry, tell me your name again.
I'm Narissa.
Narissa, okay. So to Narissa's point about having the variety. So, and I'm glad you asked because I did a whole slide. I'm sorry, can we go to the next slide? Oh, okay. So the next slide. I'm glad I saved these. Okay, so we have this whole slide on our advantage. The first one is that we have more than around 100 variations of regular, vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, and soy-free cupcakes. So if a B2B client, like the Compass Group or whoever, if they say, you know what, we have an event, their largest order from us was 150 dozen cupcakes. If they have an event that size, they're going to need vegan, they're going to need gluten-free, they're going to need sugar-free, they're going to need regular. With us, they can come to just us. They can get all of that in addition to nut-free, so they don't kill anybody. And you can get all of that from one place. And not just that, but there are flavors where you can get it in every variation. So you don't have to worry about the vegan person getting some little sad dessert while everyone else gets something nice. The reality is everyone gets their own version of, the vegan or the gluten-free or the regular strawberries and cream cupcake or cookies and cream or whatever the case is. So that's the first thing. The second is that we're a safer bakery, meaning that we're nut-free. Since I've been in Boston, I've had several, Finality was one place, I can mention them because they're closed, but I went and I bought, it was oatmeal raisin cookies. Went back to the office, I was working at Harvard at the time. Next thing I know, I can't breathe. I'm having to pull out my EpiPen. I go back, I talk to them about what happened. They had the oatmeal raisin cookies on top of cookies with nuts in them in a case, just sitting on top. And it's like, what are you doing? So just the idea of, if you're a B2B client, we are reducing your risk of getting sued. I mean, that's just the reality of it. The Charles Hotel, my own alma mater, BU, I had cross-examination issue there. I'm at an event. I'm talking, I'm like, I can't breathe. I look at, it was a roll. There was like a nut in there. Why are there nuts in this? And so reducing their risk, it's a very real issue. There are millions of people in the country who have nut allergies. It is a very real risk. Easy online ordering. We have a frictionless website. With most bakeries, you have to call them or email them and they'll do an invoice. They'll give you a quote. You can just go on our website and put an order in. It doesn't matter when, whatever time of day. You can order the toppers. You can order whatever you want that we sell on our website. It's just super easy. You pick your 1 hour window for delivery. You get an automatic confirmation. It's done. The confirmation has the cancellation policy. It has the link to send the topper images, has everything in it. You're done. The fourth thing is we currently offer next day delivery. And as of May or April, we'll be able to do same day pickup for customers who are in the financial district, for instance, which is our largest customer base. They'll be down the street from us. They can just walk over. And so we just make it easier for the customers to order from us and to have what they need. Thank you. Thank you for letting me use my extra slides. Any other questions? Thank you.
There's the comments in the chat.
Yeah, let me just read those real quick. So there's just a lot of love. I see a lot of love. Amazing. Love this news. So happy for you guys. The ability to navigate the push and pull of small business in Boston is remarkable. Somebody asked, would it be cool to do some UGBA video content at your new location? Cupcake therapy to the world. It would be actually close to this office. So Ujima does have an office space here. So that'll be amazing. I'd love to pick up some cupcakes. Okay. Got it. Apex North should get you to collaborate. They're around the corner.
We have actually collaboration with Urban Grape coming up in February. I forgot to mention that. So we're doing a cupcake and wine pairing. It's sponsored by Yelp. So we're doing that in February.
Nice.
I should have been on there. Forgot. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, round of applause for Sharonda. Thank you, Sharonda. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, guys. So now we're gonna pass it over to our next business, Bay State Banner. And we're gonna have Ron and Andre present. Pass it over to you guys.
Hello.
Fix my screen.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
There we go.
Yes, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay, I can't tell who's up. My thing is jumping all over the place, but I will start and then Andre can chime in. Can everybody see and hear me?
Yep.
Yes, okay, great. I don't know why I see you, Noah. I don't see the group, but it's all good. So we are the Bay State Banner newspaper. We have been a Ujima invested company for about 5 months now, 4 or 5 months now. I'd have to check the actual date. We utilize the funds to help shore up our back end. We are about, this year, we should probably be about almost a $2 million gross revenue company. We still print 27,000 free newspapers, over 27,000 free newspapers every single week. We have over 400 drop sites. We've expanded to include Worcester, as well as Fall River and New Bedford and Cape and the Islands in the summer. When we first bought the paper a year and a half ago, there was no digital ads, though there was a website. We upgraded the website. We added digital advertising. Since then, we've gone and had 2 gala events. We've done a number of virtual art gallery events in the community. So we've really increased our outreach into the community. and doing live events that folks can come to enjoy the history of the paper, various different articles, and the whole essence of what the banner does. Our third major expansion has been moving. We moved to John Elliott Square from up in Dorchester, Lower Mills. We're almost by the chocolate factory. We're up on 1100 Watson Street in a medical office building, but we were lucky to be able to move into Cruise Company's old headquarters where they had been since their inception, which is right on the top of, it's kind of on the base of Fort Hill, right up the hill from Nubian Square, right up the hill from the Gordine statue. So we are literally at 1 John Elliott Square, which is a kind of half-round building at the very top of the very beginning of Dudley Street. So we're directly across from the large white church,
First Church of Roxbury.
First Church of Roxbury, which is a very old and historic church. We're honored to be in the square. This is a really amazing space. We are able to add a virtual streaming studio that we have had the pleasure of doing one interview so far with Ayanna Pressley prior to the election. That was about a 25-minute interview, which is available on the website. Andre can show us. Can we share? Is that possible for us to share?
Let's try that right now.
Our new offices are 2 floors, and it provides us a very large area that we're turning into a conventional news studio. And when I say conventional, I mean it will have a news desk, and we'll be presenting a weekly streaming newscast, which is a synopsis of our weekly newspaper. The goal of that isn't just to do an old school one anchor sitting at a desk telling you a series of stories over the course of a half hour that you can stream at any time, but it will also give us the ability to break all of our stories into individual video clips so we can share them on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and all the other different platforms. So this is an opportunity for us to really take what has traditionally been a print product and turn it into a streaming and a video product that can go out on all the other platforms. It's one of our major expansion models for our company. Let's see, this is let's see.
Sorry, I've got a new system and it's not letting me do it yet, but
bear with us just a second. If you want to unshare, Andre, till you get there, and then you can reshare.
Yeah.
So our streaming news studio will allow us not only to do a conventional weekly newscast, but will also allow us to do interviews and other things like what you're about to see that we had the pleasure of doing with Ayanna Pressley. But I think the most important factor is the ability to turn our news stories that are currently in print into a video component and into a clip that can end up on your phone or on your laptop in a visual manner. We had a lot of success partnering with Northeastern and other schools recently with some of their classes that do multimedia. I'll let Andre share that with you. Some of the other major additions that collaborations that we've done, we collaborate with the Jazz Urbane Cafe, Bill Banfield. I know they're coming up a little later in this presentation, but Bill is kind enough to write two, I don't want to call them editorials. They're more commentaries. He writes them bi-weekly, sometimes every 3 weeks, depending on the schedule. It's a major deal for us. It's branded under Bill Banfield and the Jazz Urbane Cafe. And it's a mutual use agreement, so they don't pay us, but we don't pay them. He gives us the content, and we put it in a full page. It's been a very successful piece for us. Let me just think of the other ads. The other additions to the paper, we always had an arts and culture section, and almost from the beginning that was sponsored. Well, once we started getting sponsorship, cruise companies came in, they sponsored our sports, but then we moved them over to arts and culture when the Patriots Foundation wanted to sponsor sports. So we now have the sports section sponsored by the Patriots Foundation. We have arts and culture sponsored by cruise companies. We have a business section that is sponsored by the Boston Foundation, and we have a mutual use agreement with the Boston Business Journal, so we share content with them. We always had a mutual use agreement with GBH, but it has been flushed out substantially more now. Not only do we share content with them, but we're also beginning to share video. We did our first Amplify conversation with GBH as a partner. GBH has their Newsfeed Cafe, which is in the Copley Square, in the main branch of the Boston Public Library in Copley Square. And we were able to do a 45-minute to 1 hour dialogue around the post-election. Nia was kind enough to be a guest, as well as Chip Greenidge, as well as as well as Call It Phillips. And that particular 45-minute segment that was filmed in the Boston Public Library will be streaming on GBH's website, as well as Designed for Broadcast, probably in January on The World. And we're also going to be able to stream it on our platform as well. So that's one of our mutual use elements. We're also, again, going to be able to share a number of our individual stories with GBH, with their streaming channel and with their YouTube channel as well. And some of their views on YouTube reach as many as 1 million, so it's a great collaboration for us. As I said, we always were able to share stories with them, and we might run 1 or 2 pertinent stories from we might run 1 GBH story a week or every other week, depending on what the story topics are. But this is a great growth for that partnership. We also have recently inked a deal with Channel 5, which is also a mutual use agreement. They're going to be highlighting a couple of our stories every week. We're also going to be highlighting a couple of their stories, adding their weather bug to our website. They will also be able to share video content with them when it's streamed events, so we don't have to send our own camera crew. And they're also going to have probably weekly, the commitment was bi-weekly, but as many as once a week, as much as once a week, limited as much as once every other week, having one of our reporters or our streaming news anchor actually in their Saturday morning newscast talking about the Bay State Banner highlighted stories of the week. So they'll talk about one particular story that we enterprised, and then they'll also give a highlight for what's coming up in the next week. Our mutual use agreement also includes advertisements that run in the City Line television show. They're agreed to shoot up to a $5,000 budget for an ad that they make for us that runs at City Line. We could do it ourselves, but we'll take the free assist. There are a whole bunch of other elements to that agreement. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but again, it is a active, interactive mutual use agreement where we're sharing our stories, they're sharing their stories, they're sharing video content with us, and we're placing their video stories online as well as they place our stories in print. So we've really looked to partner with the community as much as we could. Now being in Nubian Square, it opens up a whole nother opportunity to partner with a whole bunch of organizations. Now that we are on the first floor with what is front facing, our streaming news studio sits in the front of our offices. You can, as you drive by the building, you can see it through the window. So now we're really going to begin to gear up and work on our community partnerships with the Roxbury Cultural District, Kelly Chung's organization, and a whole bunch of other organizations that are here in the community. Andre, why don't you talk about some of the collaborations with some of the local universities and interns?
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to point out before I get to that is that we have a new hire, and I'm not sure that anybody knew about it, but we have the first female managing editor at the Banner in 60 years, which we will be next year, 2025. So Jamira Perry is our hire, who is the first, as I said, the first female managing editor at Banner.
We had an interim one.
Well, yeah, but
we had an interim, so
yeah.
She's the first full-time. We
Right.
had an interim.
And so that was exciting. We also have something called Banner Around Town, where we highlight a lot of different events that are happening in and out of the community, and focus on African-American organizations and events. Because we have a new area, we are working to bring back the roving eye aspect to the paper, which has been very popular and is always something that people stop us and ask us, when are you bringing the roving eye back? We even had Keith Motley tell us that he was part of the roving eye when he was a teenager. So that goes way back, but that's something else that we want to bring back as well. Going to try to share this screen and see if this is going to work this time. And last time I did it, let's see, here we go. So this is the first part of it. This is our collaboration with Northeastern University. And the Northeastern University, Professor Dan Zedek said, hey, look, we would like to talk about different issues that affect the African-American and BIPOC communities in and around Boston, relating to a variety of issues from lead pipes to, in this case, overheated areas of the city. So what they did is they worked on both print and online features, and they ran it once a week for a month. So as you can see, we have an element here. I'm not sure if it's going to play on here and if it's going to open up my screen.
After the long, thrilling months of winter, Bostonians eagerly await the arrival of sunny days. But summers in Boston can get dangerously hot, and some communities experience drastically higher temperatures than others.
Can you click on the
even if they're
link?
only a couple
Yeah,
miles
I'm not sure if
away.
it's going to go.
This didn't happen by accident.
It won't for some reason.
These same communities have experienced systemic disinvestment as a result of discriminatory practices.
My name is David Sittenfeld. I'm a director of the Center for the Environment here at the Museum of Science. Unfortunately, this connects to the persistence and legacy of redlining practices in the 1930s. What happened is that the federal government invested in some communities and not others. And so some places were given resources to put in parks or other kinds of things that ended up basically connecting with resilience to extreme heat.
So that's the video component from each section. They also have interviews that they spoke to residents of those areas. They also had graphs that showed how much green space and tree coverage they had in each area of the city. And so they ran this, and this ran on our website. So it was a multimedia type collaboration, which we're going to do more of in the coming year. We've had really great success. We're talking to Mike Bodette, who's also a professor who used to be, well, actually, he still is an investigative reporter at WCVB, to see if we can work with his class on some issues that affect areas of Boston, specifically areas of color in Boston. And as Ron mentioned earlier, we have been working on our video component for the paper, and this is a recent interview, and I'll turn it down. It's a little, for some reason, it's not allowing me to expand my screen, but I'll just show you the first few minutes of this.
And turn it up a little, Andre, so we can hear the audio.
You can hear it?
Nope.
Hi, welcome to the Bay State Banner Conversations with Publishing. I'm Ron Mitchell, and today our guest is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She's running for re-election unopposed, and she's been traveling around our great nation on behalf of the Democratic Party in support of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the full Democratic slate of candidates. So we want to welcome her to the Bay State Banner Studios, and thank you for being our first guest here.
Beautiful to be home, and exciting to be here for this new chapter of the Banner.
Thank you so much.
So that's something we're going to have more of, as Ron mentioned. We're going to do a newscast, but these are special inserts that we've had, and we're going to talk to more people around the Boston area and more people of color in not just elective office, but other movers and shakers in the city. So that is where we have stopped the share now. And that is where we come since we have received a very gracious investment from Ujima.
So I know that we're almost out of time, but I will just wrap it up to kind of explain revenue-wise for the bean counters who are listening. In our first year, prior to the investment, which came in kind of towards the end of our first year, we grossed about a $350,000 increase from what the company did prior to our purchase. A good chunk of that $350,000, which accounts to about a 20% increase in revenue, I'd have to do the math again, but basically came from our expansion. Some in a good chunk was digital, about 150,000 was digital ad because there was none. And then the other 150 to 200,000 was just general ad sales, creating a sales team. When we purchased the paper, there was an ad manager, and then Mel Miller's wife did what they would call large client sales. So now we have a digital sales manager, and we have a client manager, and I also do sales. The main way that we're going to be able to grow the banner there's a relatively small pool of advertisers, and people don't look at print advertising the way they used to. Newspapers, as D.L. Hughley said to me one time, people don't do this anymore. They don't read the paper, they don't open a piece of paper anymore. We still print 27,000, and it's an important audience to us, but our growth is in digital and being able to add this whole streaming platform. We already have a community We already have one sponsor for our streaming newscast that comes in just about 46 or $7,000. I don't want to announce it yet because we haven't got public, but we have inked to deal with them. They're going to be a reoccurring community service segment that's going to be self-contained that will run within the newscast, almost like basically a 2-minute advertisement, but it's a community service message that it's going to be sponsored. We'll have a big rollout for that and announce that coming up in the near future. So we're really looking at partnerships. We're really looking at expanding. Our next major expansion, we went from the print to creating the digital, to creating the live events, to now creating streaming. Our next major expansion that we anticipate sometime in the middle of next year will be changing our actual physical distribution model, so that we'll be creating a version for Connecticut, a version for Rhode Island, and a version for Northern New England. These versions will be about 15 to 20% localized, and then 80 to 85% the same. Very similar to El Mundo magazine does a different front cover for Lawrence than they do for Chelsea, than they do for Fall River, because some communities are more Puerto Rican, some are more Dominican, some are more Cape Verdean or whatever. So that is our next major growth step after we get through have our streaming newscast up and running, and all of our stories are being distributed between our platform and our mutual use partners, GBH and Channel 5.
Perfect.
I could talk forever, but I know it's a long day.
It's all good, Ron. It's all good. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Andre. I'm going to leave it open for some questions, and then I'm going to read the chat for the comments. We have a question from Nia.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Andre. This is Nia. So I continue to appreciate what I consider new energy that you brought to the banner. And I say that not intending to be negatively comparative to Mel's ownership. But I think the new energy and all of the ideas are apparent. So I'm curious, because I hear a lot of partnerships work and I hear a lot of sponsorships work as well. I'm just kind of curious how the partnerships and the sponsorships work that you two are engaged in compares to what was happening before. I just want to get a sense of change, increase, etc.
Okay. Well, Mel, as far as we understood, had no sponsored sections. When we bought the paper, there were no sponsorships. And to Mel's credit, he had run the paper since 1965, and he was 87 years old. So we are honored to take over his legacy. And no one ever, what he created was an amazing brand. We just brought a new vision and a new younger energy. And we're not young, don't get me wrong, but members of our team are younger.
We're younger.
We're younger than 87, but members of our team, have very young energy. And we also understand, me being a TV guy, TV news guy, Andre being a longer format documentarian and experts in our area, we really understood the importance of getting news to more people, getting the important news. And Andre and I both have college age or just barely post-college age children. My son doesn't read the paper, but it's important that he reads this news that we're creating. So has been our commitment to really getting to this streaming level. Mel didn't have any of these he had the relationship with GBH, he did have that. That came out of Ken Cooper, who was a managing editor, at GBH, and Yahoo, who was the managing editor at the Banner. So we inherited that relationship, but it was never formalized, as we found out when we went to formalize it, and we couldn't find any paperwork. But again, it's been a good relationship. Mutual use agreements are free. Sponsorships are paid revenue generating elements. The Patriots pay almost $4,600 a month. The Boston Foundation, their sponsorship is a little less because the ad size, the weekly print ad that they get is smaller. But all of these are long-term revenue generating sponsorships, not partnerships. But the partnership with Channel 5 and GBH and the Boston Business Journal, those are mutual use agreements where we don't pay them, they don't pay us. But again, we get a benefit from being able to utilize their stories. They get a benefit from being able to utilize our stories. We are actually getting ready to start collaborating on Singer over at GBH, Paul Singer, it's everybody refers to him as Singer. They've got a grant from the Bar Foundation. Let me back up. GBH got a grant from the Bar Foundation. They split the money into multiple pieces. One of the pieces is for an investigative team that looks at disparities and ethnic and BIPOC issues. Their first story that came out of that was the story about State Street Bank and their history to slavery. There's a whole bunch of other series coming out. And we're working with Singer on some other investigative reporting stuff. So if anybody in the community has any story ideas, we look forward to those. You know, we really drill down when there were major issues in the community, like what happened with Kearney Hospital. Unfortunately, though we created a lot of articles and a lot of attention, we weren't able to save the Kearney, but we were able to save the Edgar Benjamin up on the top of Mission Hill, which was another one of our major stories that we broke and that we worked with and that we pushed. And then everybody came along, all the TV stations came along, everybody else came behind us, you know, but that's the type of stories that we want to tell, that tell the stories of longstanding, you know, community partners, community organizations that are being, you know, either abused like the Benjamin was, trying to funnel all the money, trying to sell the real estate, you know. So we are trying to live up to what Mel did, which was fight for our community, and we're trying to tell those stories in as many ways and through as many partners and reach as many people as we can.
And I have a slightly different problem with my son, who is now a PR person for Colette Phillips. And every time I hear the words, "Hey, Dad," I know he's trying to pitch me a story. And I say, "Hey, Shane, I just finished paying your tuition, so stop jumping on Dad's back all the time." But we realize that the digital space is really important to the future of the paper and how far-reaching it can be. And we just had we participated in a Keolis event out in Worcester and met a lot of people out there who have businesses, some of whom we're going to be covering in the next couple of months. And so we want to make sure that the net is spread very widely. So people read the paper out there and they're going, "Yeah, I remember seeing this issue, the story talked about. What about coming out here and talking to us about this?" So we know the reach of the paper is great, far and wide, and we want to keep that momentum going.
And Worcester was one of the communities that we added since purchase. So, and we distribute, you know, a couple thousand papers. We have about 7 or 8 drop sites. So, and we do get stories. I mean, we always covered stories around the state. We didn't have to have a distribution area near you to cover stories. If a story came in about Black or Brown or Ally from these communities, we would tell that story because we are the Bay State banner. We're not the Boston banner. We're a statewide paper. And soon, once we get through the streaming and into our next phase, we will become the New England banner. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. So that's our next.
Thank you. There is one question I think is important to ask, and it's from Kiana. And she asks, does the banner have a kids corner? If not, happy to brainstorm how Kadogo can collaborate with you guys.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion. We would love collaboration. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I tried to work with our cartoonist, Kagan Luce, does Comics of Color. And when he had the last Comics of Color convention, I pitched a handful of cartoonists about doing a cartoon page, a comic strip section of the paper. So keep your eyes open. We're trying to get that done as well. You know, it's a lot to add, but we're definitely working on adding those elements. We want to do the best of the old school and then do the best of the new school. So we're trying to go both directions at once. So it's a little challenging, but we're looking at that as well. But we'd love to do a kids corner. That'd be a nice add. Additive, not add, but add to the paper.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Andre. Round of applause for everyone.
Thank you, guys. Strange.
Yes.
That's for the old people in the audience. You youngins don't know about that.
Indeed. You do not have no idea.
No idea. None.
That's a Grace Jones line from what was it? The Grace Jones was in
boomerang, you know.
Boomerang.
Boomerang.
As I said, for the old fogies in the audience.
Speak for yourself.
All right, cool. Thank you, Bay State Banner. Thank you, Ron and Andre. We appreciate you guys.
Thank
Now
you
we're gonna
guys for your
We
support.
appreciate Ujima. You've done a
Thank you
great
for your support, guys.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Now we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna pass it over to Jazzer Bain, and we have Bill Banfield here.
Yay, Bill!
Hey, Bill.
Where should I look?
Right here.
Right here?
So,
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Should I look in the camera here or should I look out at the audience?
to do both.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here this evening with Ujima and with all of our related friends and family. And those gentlemen that we just heard from the Bay State Banner are a difficult act to follow. Very difficult. I know those gentlemen. They are my bosses at the Bay State Banner, along with the wonderful Miss Perry.
Partners.
They are my bosses, as you can tell. And so I watch what I say, what I eat, and what I think around them all the time. But they're amazing. And to think about the kind of partnerships that Ujima has provided for us is what you see happening just right there. We didn't make that up. It has come as a result of us all working to make Boston a better city, and Boston working to make this place a better state, and the state working to make this country better, and this country and all of us in these places working to make our humanity a place that we work on. And so the kind of community things that are going on are not fake, they are real, and I'm here, we are all here in this room and on this sharing, talk about that. It never happens in a straight line, but stay focused, do your work, and it will all come together. That is what Bipla Roy said to me, who is now the Ujima, gave us and allowed us to have this wonderful person in residence with us to help us coordinate the coming together of the business portions of the Jazz Urbane Cafe, which I want to talk to you about. And that is great advice from him. We're opening up this restaurant and this cultural center that we'll talk about. As well, the BCCO, Stacy and Sadie there, also a part of the Ujima help to get this wonderful project that we've all been talking about. And Ujima met me and my partner, Ron Dorsey, early on when we first started, and we had to present the Jazz Urbane Cafe to them. I don't know, back in 2017, 18, 19, we were approached by the city to do this in 2016. So that should give you a little bit of the kind of trajectory that we're talking about. My name is Bill Banfield, and I'm the founder and the artistic vision person for this, but I've had to grow up under Bipla and Ujima's watch to become an entrepreneur, and working with the gentleman we just talked about is very helpful. Let me say a little bit about the Jazz Urbane Cafe is a new 200-seat full-service restaurant and performance arts venue, 7,800 square feet, and we have 2 floors of that, by the way. It's a restaurant, it's a company venue, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit to support arts and culture education in Boston. It is this innovative blend of arts and food and company that features new music, great food, supports young artists, and offers an arts-embedded space representing the power of culture to lift people's spirits. The Jazz Urbane Cafe is a true community center as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I'll do very shortly talk about that. And it is an activation with the city of Boston. And by the way, it is Ujima's clubhouse, okay? So all the things you've been seeing Ujima do all around the city, they won't need to do that anymore, because we'll be together in the space of the Jazz Urbane Cafe. And we have just really been honored and so moved and helped by Ujima, the entire group. Like we first met them, we had to do a presentation. There were 100 people in there. All 3 mayors that we had were at that Ujima. So we've been through 3. We started in 2016 with this discussion with the city. We are now 2024. And you do the math there, 3 mayors and a pandemic, and that's where we are. But we are now building now. So I see Stacy here. Thank you so much. We thought forward to make to model a progressive performing arts cafe eatery venue concept in the heart of the city. The Jazz Urbane Cafe plan achieves this plan through a thoughtful, innovative, and creative approach, pairing entrepreneurial arts and performances with a restaurant concept, a formula that successfully bridges high-value arts, food service innovation, and community partnerships. We think this is the best practice model in Boston for high artistry, entertaining music that is about music and arts and community and great food too. So I think this will be a critical part of the heartbeat of what's going on, first of all, in the Nubian Square area. And it's not only the Jazz Urbane, it's Nubian Ascends, and it's the cultural centers and all the things that are happening that are now have been actually the dream of the city and folks in that area for about 70 or 80 years, 70 or 80 years or more. And I met in some of our earlier things, some community members who had wanted to have a space that people could come to right there and that had music and culture and food. So we're very, very excited about that. It's a different kind of space because it's about people, it's about community, it's about the value of art and culture. All those things are not pretend issues. It's kind of like I've been, and all of us that are in it have been dedicated to this all of our lives. I started my first company in Boston in 1981. So those guys that were just on there are much older than me. They're much older than me. But our company started in Boston in 1981 doing this very thing. And the first grants we got were from the Boston Foundation. I was a very young fellow then. But we began actually to catch up a little bit, and I did say I'll be short. We began this summer with the actual breaking of the ground of the building. Now, if you've been through Nubian, you have seen the bowling building, which is our home. And you've seen it wrapped with, coming soon, the Jazz Urbane Cafe, which we've been waiting for a long time. Well, it is coming soon. We will open this summer of 2025. And a little bit of updates for the Ujima family, everybody here, this great audience is here. We began this summer our first build. So we are being built, our builders is the Janey Company. They have built many things around town, and they have been with me and us and our team, Ron and I, the whole team, since 2016. They were the builders that came on. We brought architects, designers, chef, everybody aboard, and now we are building. The kitchen, all these areas are wonderful, so we're very excited about Janey. We had a fundraiser this summer. We had a build, which a lot of the Ujima members were there. That celebrated the beginning of the build. Then we had fundraiser. So all of those activities began to be the thing that put us in place in where we're going now. So that was a groundbreaking that went around the screens we've talked about. Bay State Banner is our media sponsor. And every other week, thousands of people see the Bay State Banner Jazz Urbane page. Right now, my bosses have hired me to provide cultural commentary because look, I mean, this is about reporting on what the culture is about, what the young people hold to do, what the critical issues in our lives are. The Jazz Urbane Cafe is the embodiment of that, both in terms of the way we perform the music, the way the food is served, what you get when you're in there. But until we open, we have this cultural commentary. It's a full page ad. It's completely wonderful. Can you imagine when we open up, we'll be able to put on there all the acts and all the activities that are coming on in the month. And we get to do that every 2 weeks. We are so honored and excited about that. We also have the Jazz Urbane Hour, which is a Tavis Smiley show, KBLA, that reaches thousands of people all over the country. It's also a web and a, what do you call these things? Where you have the shows that are on podcast. I'm old school. I started with Tavis Smiley 25 years ago. I was his arts and culture correspondent. I'm used to radio, and I open up newspapers. So I am old school. But the podcasts are out there, and it's called the Jazz Urbane Hour. We interview everybody from Sweet Honey in the Rock to Nona Hendricks to you name it. Those are all artists that are going to be in the Jazz Urbane Cafe as well. but those are artists that we've had these conversations about. So it relates to culture and what that means. That's why it's really important to have the Bay State banner there. We have been in residence, our Jazz Urbane Cafe artists, and there's 25 of them or so at currently now at the ICA. We are doing a program, a joint concert program with Ujima. Ujima has been coming to the ICA to see the Jazz Urbane artists who will be in the building performing each week during the week. But we are now in residence while the cafe is being built at the ICA. We are also in residence at the Boston Children's Museum. We're in residence with the Emerson Uncommon Concerts. We're also in residence at Longtree School of Music. And also we are in residence at the Quinn, which is a local club here. I think that's a lot to say about the Jazz Urbane Cafe, except for we are so honored and excited. And you can really feel the community really saying, we can't wait. I'll go into a bank and I'm just the creative guy. But someone will say, the Jazz Urbane, and people will say, a teller will say, my husband and I are so excited about the Jazz Urbane Cafe. We can't wait to come down and be there in the community and be a part of it. So I'm really thankful. We're really thankful. My entire team is really thankful to you all, Ujima, for giving us the support, but not only support, the advice, like you heard from Bipla saying, don't worry, Bill, it will finally fall into place. Just keep your eyes on the prize, keep your foot on the gas, keep your prayerful heart focused, and keep serving people, and it will all fall into place. And it has. And thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Any questions from our audience in person?
We have to have 2 comments from the live people here. Don't fall asleep. This is a wonderful group here, by the way. Let's go.
A question? Comment?
Think of a question.
Oh, one question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about fundraising?
Wow, that's a very important question to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
Well, do you want to talk about how it's going? Do you have
Yeah,
any requests of the group?
Yeah,
Here?
yeah, the fundraising is going wonderful. And we're seeing now 3, I'd like, and our team would like to see private investors, corporate, and state. I think it's important because it is community. So we started out with Ujima as one of our first investors. Can we say that live?
Yeah.
Oh. And Ujima began, and when people saw Ujima come aboard, private investors started to say, we want to be a part of this too. Because Ujima is already recognized as kind of an interrelated group of investors who collectively together represent community, which is central to our message in terms of the Jazz Urbane. It is a business for sure, but it also is committed to the kinds of notions of arts and culture that's transformative. But you have to have a space to have that happen too. And as you saw from our previous colleague who talked about the space that they're developing, you have food, but you have to have people inside the space to actually make that happen. And that's what's wonderful to hear what she said. And that's the Jazz Urbane Cafe, the same thing. I mean, artists want a space to have community in, but the food feeds the spirit and the soul. You see, so I think it's important to let people know that our investors believe in that. Both Ujima, the private investors, and then, the city is a big investor. The city, actually, we're in partnership with the city. So there's a state-city relationship there that's critical that we depend upon. And because we're in the bowling building, it belongs to the city. So they actually, for very, very early on, extended this invitation to us, like I said, in 2017 or 2018. And we've been in the space all that time, even during the pandemic. And most businesses that were trying to open before the pandemic had to close. we are still open. So that's because of I think the investment that the city made in us. And I think the fundraising is a result of all three of those streams. You add it up, and then you work hard, you pray hard, you work, and then you start your business, and that's where we are.
Okay. Thank you.
Another question. Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the relationship between the business and the nonprofit.
Oh, that's a very good question. I said 7,800 feet because it's actually 2 floors. We actually, the first floor, if you go to the bowling building where the streams are, this custom cafe is being built right behind there in that space. Everybody knows the space. That door is from the 1900s. It's wonderful. It is the original doors that are there, so we're very excited about that. But below the 501c3, which is called CAT, Creativity, Artistry, and Transformation, is in the basement. So even though we have a lot of storage space down there, it's also being designed and fleshed out for the 501. And what happens on the weekends, if artists come into town, they often want to do things in the community. So the 501(c)(3) then can extend the work of the Jazz Urban Cafe, of the concert stuff that happens that you and I get to experience. How does the community get to do that? You have to take that music into the community. So our resident chefs want to do cook-offs. They want to do culinary teaching in the community on the weekends. They want to do this there in the space. That's how the 501(c)(3) operates, to take the work of the Jazz Urban business side, which is arts and culture, music, actually extending that to the neighborhoods. But not only that teaching, but also residencies that those artists can do. So the 501 is all about arts and education and extending that into the community. So that's the work that they do. We're really excited about that. The first work is always with the business, and then the 501 starts when we open, so that everybody's clear about what those distinctions are. One is for the community that comes in to embrace and be embraced, and the other is taking that embrace into the community, and that's the role of the two.
I'm the treasurer for the Secret Society of Black Creatives, and they are they're working on an education component, right? And so I'm also a professor, so helping them with that as well. But wondering, what are you looking for partnerships for that education model?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's really, and I really want to watch my time because we have other folks. So the partnerships are already beginning. Talk about the Bay State banner. I'm a professor. People know that. I was the director and founder of Black Studies at Berkeley, and my wife is a vice president at Berkeley. And her area is in the area of community outreach and child development area. So one of the things, this is not a Berkeley outpost for sure, but you can't help knowing all of these young people are coming through these, as you know, these places, and we don't want them to leave Boston, right? The real issue is we want you to stay in Boston with your skills, with your devotions, and do work in the city here. So part of, I think, the thing to your point is education, is letting people know that the 501c3 is grounded also in education work. So that's going to allow us to have, like one of the things that we're allowed to do is to have our space be a place for interns, both in terms of cooking. So you got all of these future cooks that are in the high school programs here and all the high schools, and also music and arts and humanities development. All those folks need a place to have a 501(c)(3) to get them into the community. So those partnerships we're very excited about as well. Thank you. A lot to talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate you, Bill and Judge Urbane. We're going to pass it over to our last business of the evening. And it is Comfort Kitchen. I'm going to pass it over to you, Bipola. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Ujima family. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know everyone wants to either go to bed or eat. So it's been a long day. So I'll give you a recap in numbers so there's something to take home. We are in So we are in second year of operation. We will be turning 2 in January 25th of next year. So in a toddler phase. Currently, we have 33 full-time staff. Out of that, 13 are full-time. Sorry, 33 total staff, 13 are full-time and 20 are part-time. Out of 33 staff, 25 staff live in Boston and within 5-mile radius. 8 of them live in Somerville, Cambridge. And then let's see what else. We have increased our revenue by 2-folds this year. You know, it's not that it's converting right into profit, but we are getting there. So it's looking better than last year for sure. In terms of numbers, we serve anywhere from 500 to 600 guests a week. So that's a pretty big number for a small space. And that really depends on the season. In the summer, we are servicing around 120 a day. And Friday, Saturday gets to be even more intense. Out of all the staff, in terms of, I just like to be transparent about what we pay and what the pay structure in restaurant world is, especially with having question number 5 that was on the ballot and it didn't pass. We start our employees at $18 an hour. So anyone that works with us, that's the base salary for back of the house. And when you add 5% of the kitchen appreciation fee that we add on to our bill, it comes around $22 to $25 an hour. So that is very seasonal. In summer, obviously, more guests, more tips, more hours. That gets closer to 25. For the front of the house, which are servers, they make anywhere from $35 to $41 an hour. And this is with $6.75, the federal minimum wage. And this was what was on question 5 for us to increase the sub-minimum wage. We've done, and out of all the staff, out of 33 staff, we have 5 staff that are on salary. Our base salary is $65,000, leading all the way up to 80. In the last year, we've done 2 menu changes. We are working on converting both the patios into full season patio, which should happen pretty soon in about a month and a half. A little hiccup was the prices have gone up for the patios, so we are only deciding to do the front, which is the south patio, rather than doing both the patios, which would still work, which will increase our capacity by 18 seats and also have a full year-round dinner service. This year, it's been, let's see, 5 months since we stopped our cafe service. When we first opened back in 2023, we opened with, working 6 days a week, doing cafe service from 8 to 3, and that really didn't pan out for that neighborhood. So that was a little, bittersweet moment for us. We did lose 2 very young staff that we were training, and they were just excellent. We couldn't really find them another part. We tried helping them with serving and all. It didn't really work out with their schedule. So we had to stop that cafe service just because it didn't make sense financially. But instead, we added brunch service for Saturday and Sunday, and that's been going well. So for those who have not been to Comfort Kitchen, getting brunch would be entry to having our food. We've also increased all of our caterings this year, which is a big chunk of our revenue. So that really helps. So anytime Ujima orders food for the meeting, it really helps. So just to give a little perspective. So who's serving the food tonight? But no, really, it helps small businesses. Catering is the way to go. So anyone that's listening to this is please, please, please support small businesses in your neighborhood that caters to